I'm wondering whether you're ready to try out one of my favorite Suha moves. This move of Afterglow, I'm going to ask you to think of a time where there's something you've done in the last year. And it may be that you faced something that was difficult, that wasn't actually necessarily much fun at the time. But you look back on it and you think, I'm glad I did that. I'm glad did that. It's something that I'm still happy about today. And this is very important. This thing about happiness is so often seen as something that disappears in a flash. But there might be something you did even 10 years ago that when you remember it, you think, I'm so glad I did that. You're still happy about it today. I'm going to perhaps just ask you to think of something you've done in the last year, something you've done in the last year when you think, okay. And so, by the way, this here, Afterglow, I'm just kind of puzzling. I'm searching my memory banks. I invite you to do this too. We can all be searching our memory banks. Okay. Um, what's something I've done in the last year that I'm really pleased about? I'm really pleased about that. I think back to that and I think, I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I showed up in that way. When we do Suha training of our 8-week course, we go into different types of afterglow, but this is just a personal afterglow we're doing just now. I'm going to invite you to write in the chat window something you've done in the last year that you're still happy about today. And then I'm also going to ask you to savor that. When you savor that, you can harvest a lovely warm feeling of satisfaction. I'm thinking of actually, I ran a webinar last Thursday, and actually two webinars in the morning, and they both were beautiful occasions that I had a real sense of meeting the people I was working with and sharing things that were deeply meaningful to them and to me, and useful time spent together. And when I think about that, I kind of left with this glow. So that's afterglow. This is a Suha move. I'm wondering, Madeleine, whether you're seeing anything coming up in the chat window, examples of
Yes,
afterglow.
lovely things. Shall I read them out?
I'd love to hear.
Okay. Helping teach my daughter learn to play the violin, being a part of the paraclimbing fundraiser, and the person who taught the violin can't play the violin themselves. I had a good conversation with someone out of my bubble, a walk in deep snow and sunshine with family. I'm so glad that I put in the effort to sign up for Active Hope Community Resilience Program in October. Ooh, they're coming in thick and fast. Committing to attending Call of the Wild and for 7 weekends last year. I remember a speech I gave at a rally which worked out really well. Facilitated a 10-day Work That Reconnects course to a group of young people. Organizing an alumni event at a nature-filled location. Visiting Orkney. Completing a mindfulness meditation teacher training. Traveled with my sister and daughter and we laughed so much. Walking 22 miles overnight, part of Defend Our Juries. Saw a past teacher's art, someone I haven't seen in a long time, and at a traveling exhibit and reached out via email saying how wonderful his art was in specifics. Taking the lead and holding a group kinesiology session at a gathering.
This is wonderful hearing you. And what I want to do is I just want to shine a spotlight on some of the things that have been said. And I want to just look through them and think, how many of these cost money? Some of them did, some of them involved expense, certainly expense of time and effort, and sometimes money too. But some of them didn't. And also, I want to come back to, we looked at this, some big happens through now. One of the things mentioned was making a decision. I made a decision to go on a course, whichever one it was. And I don't know how many of you, maybe we can just put your hands up. And this is just, I'm really interested here. Hands up if you think back to a decision that you made that some while later you think, I'm so glad about that. That's one of the things I'm really happy about. And so interesting here, a decision can be made like that. Sometimes decisions take longer and we can work on decisions and we can make a decision and we can unmake it and we can revisit it. But we're looking here about what helps us make the decisions that we're later glad about. And this is what I mean by support hope activation. So when you make a decision, it's like you're planting a seed of a hope, and there'll be all kinds of actions that follow that, that spring from that choice. And when we support hope activation, we're seeing hope activation as a story that goes through different stages. There's a beginning where we might have a thought or just thinking about, we might have a conversation with somebody that kind of gets us thinking about something. There's a whole process of coming clear and then making a decision, but then following through with the action. And then some while later, we'll look back and think, I'm so glad about that. And this is one of the ways that we steer our lives in directions that are more satisfying. This is the opposite of the quick fix. I don't know how many of you have also had consumer regret, where you've been taken in or kind of very attracted by the glittery promise of something that, buy this and everything will be wonderful. And there's this picture model of happiness where all you need in the picture of your life is this thing, whatever it is, and, your life will improve. And sometimes it can help. But very often it doesn't necessarily deliver on the promise, and certainly not in a sustainable way. And we're looking at, what is happiness based on? How do we steer ourselves in directions where we're supporting the activity that creates the hope? Support hope activation. This is another meaning of Suha.